Welcome to WeLearn Virtual Learning Network. This is session number 10, Quantitative Tools and Innovation in Compensation. Topics which we are going to cover in this session are Introduction, Quantitative Analysis, Quantitative Tools and the Innovation in Compensation. So coming towards the first topic, that is the introduction. Compensation is a methodical approach to assign monetary value to employees in return of work performed by them. It is a term used to describe not only employees' salary but also all other benefits provided to employee. It can also be referred to as remuneration. Compensation may include any of or all of the basic pay, overtime pay, commissions, stock option plans, merit pay, profit sharing, bonus, housing allowance, vacations and other benefits. HRM personnel make use of compensation as a tool to enhance the performance of employees at workplace. The way an organization designs its compensation plan plays an important role in motivating the employees to perform to their best, which is essential for their efficient operation of the organization. Organizations across the world are aiming to adopt innovative compensation plan to remain competitive in the market. Pay for performance or linking remuneration to result is often considered as a right approach. Compensation is the primary area of concern for the employees. A good compensation agenda of an organization aligns with its business and people. The design of the compensation package makes a trade-off between the cost and the benefits, and the manager involved have to strike a perfect balance between two by emulating the best practice. This is done through compensation research. Next are the quantitative analysis. Quantitative analysis is that process adopted by the HRM personnel during their journey of designing an ideal compensation plan. Mathematical systems are used for compensation designing and management. As we read further, we shall understand what these mathematical systems are. Some of different types of measurement that assist in quantitative analysis of a compensation plan are level of measurement. It is based on the response collected from the sample while performing research. The nature of the responses is largely dependent on the type of scales used by the researcher. The respondent communicate their feeling, attitude, options and evaluations in some calculable form. Developing a proper scale is important as this helps us to measure the responses correctly. Each scale has its own unique properties. Some of these unique properties may include scales that are limited in their mathematical properties, due to which they can only establish an association between variables. Second is, they may have more extensive mathematical properties, may provide the possibility of establishing cause and effect relationship between the variables. Next is the nominal measurements. These are composed of numerical values that serve to identify discrete categories. That is, the number act as labels for the categories and imply no measurable differences that can be handled tellingly in numerical operations. These measurements allow only the most limited application. Most HRM personnel will find that using nominal measurement is in any kind of statistical operation is bound to lend to error. Interval measurements. Interval scales are equal units. Scales, that is, the difference between adjacent unions or an interval scale is the same irrespective of the size of the adjacent scale unit. These none other less are only relative. Interval scales are the most commonly used measurement in human resource pay practice. Next are the ratio measurements. The ratio scale is inclusive of the properties of the nominal, ordinal, interval scales and also an absolute zero. The absolute zero represents the point below which no value can be assigned. In salary administration, rupee in value can be shown on the interval scale. Whist percentage can be shown on a ratio scale. Compensation amount, however, can be the ratio. Next are the quantitative tools. The tools which are most commonly used in marketing research of compensation benefits. First is the scaling technique. The various types of scales used in compensation research are classified into two broad categories. These are comparative and non-comparative. In non-comparative scaling, the respondent is asked to weight one brand or product against another. Next is the semantic scales. This type of scale makes wide use of word rather than number. Respondents express their feelings about the product or brand on scale with semantic labels. Bipolar adjective, when used at the end point of the scales, are termed as semantic differential scales. Next is the Likert scale. A Likert scale is termed as a summated instrument scale. This means that the items making up a Likert scale are summed to produce a total score. It is a composite of itemized scale. Typically, each scale item will have 5 categories, each scale values ranging from -2 to +2 with 0 as a neutral response. Compound interest. The compounding of interest is calculated using the following formula. Ending sum is equals to initial sum multiplied by 1 plus interest rate multiplied by years. Next is the rule of 72. Rule of 72 is very useful tool in compensating calculation. The rule states that when an interest rate is divided by the number of 72, the result will indicate the number of years it will take to double the salary. Present value method. It helps to ascertain the current level of compensation, discounting the future compensation rate. Present value method is extremely used in retaining planning. The formula for the same is as follows. Present value is equals to initial sum divided by 1 plus interest rate. Next are the logarithms. Logarithm is the exponent of the power to which a fixed number is raised to produce a given value. Logarithms find their use in human resource surveys, especially in graphs that shows salary versus some size dimension. The reason for their use is that they allow visual comparison of data that may be quite dissimilar in size. Next are the averages. It is required for arriving at the average salary level of employees working in an organization. The mean or average of the distribution is defined as the sum of value of the variable in the distribution divided by the number of observations in that distribution. Next are the medians. The median is the midpoint of distribution. Half of the observation is a distribution are above the median. The other half is below the median. When the sample or population consists of an even number of observations, the true median may lie halfway between the two middle observations. It is used in pay banding. Next is weighted average. In compensation management, weighted average represents the average of total population and just a subset. Modes. The mode is that category of distribution that contain observations that appears with the greatest frequency, that is, the most frequent set of measurements is the mode of the distribution. The group data, the mode of the associated with the midpoint of category that has greatest frequency. Next are the percentages. Percentages are the most commonly used form of fractions. Computed in hundredth, they allow a representation of the fraction in terms of hundreds, providing the user with the basic for making comparison. Percentiles. Percentiles are arbitrarily selected units determined by dividing a whole into a distribution of 100 equal parts. A percentile distribution is based on the number of observations constituting a given percentage of the total number of observations in the distribution, irrespective of category. Pay structure formation. Each year, most companies review adjustment to their salary structure. Many use survey data to aid in determining the necessary for changes in the structure. Based on a point factor job evaluation plan, the new pay structure can be developed. Maturity curves. Maturity or career curves are descriptive techniques often used in professional or engineering environments. Salary increases. It is the additional amount to be paid to an individual within a given time period. Often, mistakes are committed by disregarding the difference between annualized and budgeted salary increase. Budgeted costs related to a definite plan of expending additional real, and the cost of living it refers to a measure of the cost of goods and services purchased by the customer. All the employees are consumer. The cost of living information is expressed in terms of an index or a percentage compared against the cost of living at some previous period. Demand and supply. It is the demand and supply curve of jobs and employees that create the wage and salary levels of the market. The interesting intersection of demand and supply is termed as market price of the item. Next are the innovation in compensation. Motivating, rewarding and retaining top performers is key for the successful organization that seeks to maintain or exceeds growth expectations. The key is automating the entire reward process, expertise wide, including employee teams, executives and sales. Success strategy inherent within this dynamic web-based system encourage high-level performance and profitability to impact the bottom line and drive organizational growth. Variable compensation plans. Innovation aim to align compensation with performance. Variable compensation is one such way to accomplish the same variable pay. It is the part of the employee compensation that varies with the organization business performance. Variable compensation plan keeps on increasing in their popularity. The growing popularity of variable compensation plan is driven by three factors. First is variable pay is counter cycle. Variable compensation plan keep on increasing in their popularity. The growing popularity of variable compensation plan is driven by three factors. Variable pay is counter-cyclic. This is the first factor. An organization incurs extra cost of variable pay when performing well, yet the organization that is performing is better placed to afford the extra cost. Organizations incur less cost when the business is not doing well and are less able to afford variable pay. A variable pay system works well when the organization's business performance is equal or better than the industry average. Next is direct link between employee goal and the organization goal. If the organization performs well, then the employee will earn more income based on their individual performance through variable pay. Thus, the employee and the organization enjoy mutual benefits. Motivated employee help the organization do well. The most effective variable pay system are those that have been based on an established team. The team goals have the advantage of peer influence, which can act as a very strong motivator. The more the sales achieved, the higher the total commission income for the sales executive and higher the revenue and profit for the organization. Next are the retirement plans. The term retirement plan refers to the pension granted upon retirement. The retirement plan are set up by any of the below mentioned person: the employer himself, an insurance company, the government, employer association, trade union. Retirement pension are usually in the form of guaranteed life annuity, which ensures against the risk of longevity. A pension is an agreement to provide an individual with an income when they are no longer earning a regular income from employment. That is, the payments a person receives upon retirement, usually under predetermined legal and or contractual terms. A pension that is created by the employer for the benefit of the employee is offered to as an occupational or employer pension. Occupational pension is in the form of deferred compensation, which is usually advantageous to both the employees as well as the employer for tax. Many pensions also contain an additional insurance asset, as often will pay benefits to the supervisor or the disabled beneficiaries. The different types of pensions are employment-based pensions, that is the retirement plan, social and state pensions, disability pensions. Retirement plan can be broadly classified into two categories according to which the benefits are determined. They are defined benefit and the defined contribution. Retirement plans typically cost organization 3% of the payroll cost. The cost is substantially higher in organizations that offer a pension plan in addition to be defined contribution. Next are the group incentives. At times, the manager need to decide the kind of reward they have to use in order to motivate their team members to work harder, smarter, and faster. For example, an individual is willing to work faster or harder if they are aware of the gains associated with the work. Managers can decide as to when to use individual or group incentives, where individual incentives plan cannot be implemented. The group incentive plan take their place. A compensation plan links pay to a group performance measured in terms of reduction in cost, increase in productivity, and progress in attaining the firm's objective. Group incentives are incentives that are paid to the group of employees. Group incentives are used when it is difficult to measure each individual employee's output and when teamwork is important. Nevertheless, output is measurable but impartial or too costly to measure, wherein the performance of a unit consisting of more than one employee or the company as a whole matter, and when this happens to be a reason of pay increase or bonus. The idea behind group incentive is quite clear. The employee will be more productive if part of their compensation is coupled to the business objective. The net result is that the companies get better performance which helps them to achieve success. Payment of group incentive as a practice is followed by many organizations based on their self-designed formula. Overtime. It is the amount of time an employee works beyond the normal working hour. Normal hour can be determined in the following ways. By custom, that is generally considered healthy or reasonable by society. By the practice of the given trade or profession. By the legislation, and by the agreement between employers and workers of their representatives. Most nations have overtime law designed to discourage or prevent employers from forcing their employee to work exceptionally long hours. These laws are made into account other considerations that are humanitarian, such as increase the overall level of employment in the economy. One common approach adopted in regulating overtime is to require employers to pay workers at a higher hourly rate for every hour or overtime work they put in. Overtime pay rates generally tempt the worker to work longer hours than they would at a flat hourly rate. It is overtime and also it is important to note that the overtime laws attribute towards overtime and hour of work vary greatly from country to country and between different economic sectors. Another aspect to be considered is that the overtime need not be always paid back in the form of wage. It can also be taken as time off. This is known as time off in lieu. Time off in lieu. The literal meaning being compensatory time or comp time refers to the type of work schedule arrangement which allows the employee to take time off instead of or in some cases in addition to or receiving overtime pay. An employee may receive overtime pay equal time for each hour worked on. Certain agreements can be given to the employee. Now in the last, there are a few questions which are based on this session. Question number 1 is briefly list out some of the quantitative tools that assist in compensation analysis. And the second question is what are the group discussions and explain with the example. That's all for this session. Thank you. Happy learning. We learning.